Okay, I've been watching these hearings on and off. You know, it gets old after a while, but it's worth watching. Unfortunately, a lot of people aren't going to know about because it isn't on the mainstream media. But obviously, well, I was aware of this since the election. I knew immediately that there had been cheating involved, but there again, there always is cheating involved. But the level this time is quite impressive, really. You know, it's like, I don't know, they really got to clamp down on them people. When they catch them doing this stuff, they really have to clamp down on them. You can't let them slide. They keep doing that. You know, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll go after some little guy, some individual person who did something slippery. But they let the big ones go all the time. You know, and it kind of makes a show like, oh, we're really cracking down, but the real culprits always get away on that stuff. But they really have to quit, you know, they've got to take this seriously, especially the level that went on this time. Because, like I say, it was pretty impressive. It wasn't just one little avenue. I mean, they came at it from every damn direction. You know, and they knew this was going to happen. I don't know why they didn't pay more attention right in the start, because I remember it was like 2 months ago, if not longer, that they caught a shipment of fake ballots and fake voter IDs coming in from China. Well, yeah, they caught one shipment, but how many got in? You know, because, like I said, when they're sorting these ballots, some of these ballots are obviously fake ballots. You know, and so they knew this was going to happen. But yet, when they start doing this thing, most of the people are poorly trained. You know, it's just a mess. You know, when they start actually trying to count this stuff up. You know, the ones that the witnesses that come forward, they're all just ordinary people who are upset about what they saw. But yet these big shots want to say, oh, they're the evil ones. You know, they always try to, like I heard him saying one day that it was, is it possible that this was, you know, one rogue individual that did this? No, this was way too organized. I mean, there was a lot of little rogue stuff going on, but the reason that was going on is because there was this big organized thing going on. And if they feel that they can get by with that big stuff, every person who is even aware of that, who has an opportunity, is going to try some little snaky thing. And that's what they did. But just awful disappointing. You know, I don't know, some of these states should be awful embarrassed about what they have going on. But they can't let this slide. And I don't know where they're going to go from here. You know, and let me say offhand, I don't believe that Biden was actually aware of what was going on. If you're going to pull a big scam like this, you don't, I mean, he's the weak link in the whole operation. You would never let him know that there was any of this going on. So well, he's a problem, but I don't think he's the problem in this cheating stuff. But that whole Democratic National Committee, my God, they had to be in on this. You know, this is... But, like I say, where do you go from here? You can't just say, yeah, you cheated and you won, but so we're just going to say, okay, you won, you know, and let this cheating slide. You can't do that. You just got to, that whole thing has to be done away with, you know. But, okay, if you just say, you're out of here, you know, that if you cheat like that on that scale, you can't possibly let somebody get the office, then, it's going to be a real mess. Either way, there's no good way out of this. I guess the only other thing would be to go and try to do the election all over again. That's nearly impossible to do. So they're trying to sort out this, what was legitimate, what was fake. But even that isn't, you're never going to get to the bottom of the thing that way. 10 years from now, we might understand what all this snaky stuff that was going on, who was behind all this. But I don't think it's going to be that easy. But when you have that many people involved working together on some scam, somebody's going to squeal, and there's going to be somebody that's going to squeal on the whole operation. But in the meantime, what the hell are you going to do? The obvious thing is, okay, you have to give it, if the one is cheating, you have to give it to the other one. Well, that's a heck of a thing to have to do too. It's a poor way to win. And plus, there you got, no matter what you do, you got half the country against you. And that's what, like, they keep wanting to certify this vote, which is obviously fraudulent. If you certify that vote, and you actually try to put Biden in there, you're going to have half the country up in arms, and it's the half of the country that has the arms. Nobody's going to stand for that with good justification. I mean, to me, it's the craziest thing I ever heard of. I don't know why these people would think that they could get away with this, because a lot of what they were doing was very blatant. They feel that, well, I've seen this in society in general over the years now. It's gotten to the point where it isn't about cheating. There's nothing wrong with cheating. It's the getting caught that's the bad part. So they feel that they have an obligation to cheat and just try not to get caught. Well, now they pretty much got caught. Everybody is aware of this. It's undeniable, though they are still trying to deny this, but it's just so blatant that you can't. But at the same time, they're saying, okay, if we don't get it, we're going to throw a little fit. Well, yeah, they're going to. They were throwing fits anyway, so I guess it's no new thing, but it's a hell of a position to be in. But like I say, I don't see a smooth way out of this. Because this is like they were actually trying to overthrow our government. Well, that's a pretty big charge to put on somebody, but there's no other way to look at this. And it isn't just the Democrats. I mean, you've got the FBI and the CIA and the Justice Department and even the Post Office involved in all this with the fake ballots and stuff. How in the world are you going to get? It'll be interesting, but I don't see a clean way out of this. It's a miserable position to be in. But my fear is that they're just going to say, oh, well, we'll give them the election because what else can we do? You can't do that. People aren't going to stand for it. And like I say, rightly so. You can't let cheaters win like that. So it just encourages them to do more. The funny part in watching these hearings, you get a good view of, like your state political people and your county political people. And that is a little disturbing. I mean, there's some of them that are trying in good faith to make some sense of this, But there's some of them that are just making fools of themselves, and it makes you wonder, how did these people ever get elected in the first place? Well, maybe they could say this shady stuff with the voting machines and stuff has been going on for like 20 years or longer, and maybe that's how some of these crazy radical politicians got in power. But my God, you can't have them people in there. They're horrible human beings. You know, I mean, some of them calling the people that come forward just ordinary people trying to do a job, and they see this fraud going on, and they speak up about it, and then these people are calling them liars. And to me, they aren't the ones that are they're telling the truth, though. It's making a mess of their lives to do it. It'd be a lot easier to just to leave it go, but their conscience bothers them, so they're actually speaking up. And then to have these politicians say, "Oh, you're lying. You got all this proof, all the proof in the world, and you're accused of being a liar." You know, to me, that is pretty hard to stomach. You know, it is disturbing, it is disappointing, and I really don't see, like I say, a clean way out of this. Because no matter what you do, no matter how you handle this, you are going to have riots, and people are going to die over the fact that they had to go and cheat, that they didn't have the confidence in their candidate, which, how could you? So instead they made this elaborate scheme to cheat. And now it's backfiring on them. But we got to let it play out. But it's disappointing that the Justice Department is almost useless in this. But like I say, the FBI and the CIA, all these people are really kind of involved in this. If this operation goes down, which it has to go down, I mean, there's too much apparent stuff out there. It's going to take a lot of them people with it, which is good. You know, they really need to clean that whole mess out. I'm still thinking the asteroid. If we get hit by an asteroid and wipe out the whole state, the whole District of Columbia, it would be a big start. But there again, like I said, the bastards are never there. They're out raising hell someplace else. If you could get them all together in one spot, but damn, it is a hell of a mess. But I'd love to see somebody come up with a way of solving this kind of a problem. You know, because there's just an endless stream of people who really need to be in jail over this. But the odds are it's going to be 3 or 4 people that they're going to hang it on. 3 or 4 small guys that are going to be the fall guys. And these other ones are going to skate through. And you really can't let that happen. You got to clean that whole rat's nest out. But it is funny to watch. But then the news media would say, allege this and allege that, and the proof is right there, always, plain. Anybody with half a brain can see what went on, and yet they deny it. But I know, I'm sure, I know people that if I was to talk to them and talk about this election, they wouldn't believe it. They wouldn't believe what went on because they haven't heard this, because the news media won't tell them. So they would never actually accept that there was all this large-scale cheating going on. But it's very apparent. But they don't put Biden in there, just let that go on like nothing happened. I think, like I said, there's no clean way out. I think if they try to do that, if they try to just slide Biden in there, you are going to have a revolution. People are not going to accept this. And I really see their point. I mean, you can't, there's a limit to what you can put up with, and they went over that limit. You know, like I said, there's always a certain amount of cheating, but this time was way out of hand. You know, but they deny, oh, this is the cleanest election. God. You know, it's upsetting. And there are going to be places in this country that are going to really suffer for it. But you got to get to the bottom of it. You can't, you know, I don't think there should have been some way to postpone this election, and, you know, because this pandemic, which I still have, you know, a lot of questions about, to try to run an election in the middle of that, you know, was a crazy idea in the first place, but to use this as an excuse to pull all this stuff, you know, it was a good cover for him, but that cover's falling apart. I mean, people can see plainly what went on, and it's just undeniable. But if you can't get the Justice Department to actually get off their butts and look at this now, you can't wait, you know, 10 years to do this. You know, like I say, by then maybe the truth will come out. But we can't live with a lie for that long. You know, you got to get at this now. If there's ever like an emergency procedure needs to be done, it's now, because you are going to have one hell of a revolution on your hands if you don't. You know, it's going to be a mess no matter which way it goes, no matter how they handle this. But if you just try to bury this and sweep this under the rug and go on like nothing happened, this is going to be a disaster. Well, there's no way around being a disaster, but you don't understand. I think people don't really accept how really pissed off the people are that got cheated on this. You know, they really aren't going to, they put up with a lot. You know, actually it surprises me how much people put up with. But they have gone way too far this time. People are not going to put up with this. And if the Justice Department, you know, if our government can't actually get a handle on this, people are going to take it into their own hands. They have no choice. And I can see that coming. And I'm all for them. You know, I'd have to say that's the only option you have. You can't just roll over and let them get by with it. So it's going to be interesting. But they got to start locking them people up. You know, when people get caught doing this stuff, and these Democrats are notorious for doing this stuff, and they always let them get by with it. You know, slap them on the fingers and let them get by with it. You can't do that. By doing that, that's where you end up in this kind of a situation. So when you get them now, you've got to make an example of them. I always hate the idea of any law being used to make an example, but it has gone to the point where now you have to make an example of these people. Yeah, well, I thought I'd do a video. I haven't done one for a while, but I'm busy kind of closing in my operation because I don't think the outlook on society is very good at the moment. And I have limited contact with society anyway, so I just close her up a little bit more. But boy, for you people who live, there are areas in this country that are going to be just disaster zones, no matter how this shakes down. And I feel for you. But a lot of you guys, you brought this on yourself. I don't, like I say, you see some of them politicians, you wonder how in the hell they ever got elected. You know, they're just horrible human beings. Why you would put them in a position of any authority, you know, that amazes me.